Hi everybody, it's Allison Doran coming to you from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I am so happy to report it is 7 degrees Celsius outside today, and just 2 days ago, and really for the last 3 weeks, it has been as cold as -35 wind chill to -40 degrees Celsius, and Oakley and I have had major cabin fever. It's just been really cold, and I have spent most of my time in my studio, but just the last few days I was feeling really low, and just the cabin fever was so hard. So I think that's what prompted me to do a video today. Is I went for a really nice walk, and I've spent a lot of time outside and just feel very much rejuvenated just to actually get some fresh air and sunshine. So I just wanted to say hi. It's been a little while. I had quite a stretch of January videos, and I do really miss this process myself. And I knew this would be a busy month, but just wanted to hop on and touch base with you all. And I wanted to share that just yesterday, the editor-in-chief sent me the digital copy of What Women Create magazine. So this is Where Women Create. My husband jokes about how they have like the what and the where, and how come they don't have a Why Women Create magazine. And we had a bit of a laugh about that. But this magazine, I feel really grateful for those of you that are maybe new to my channel. This is a little canvas print of Oakley and I that I had popped into this frame. So my printer made me this canvas print, and he was the one that had done the photo shoot for the magazine for a section called Pet Tales. And so really this is about Oakley, and I can hear Oakley in the kitchen right now having his lunch, and he'll probably be in here soon looking for some treats or something. It's really funny because when Ken and I had done the photo shoot for the magazine, we probably got 200, maybe more, maybe up to 300 photos to choose from for the magazine, and they ended up just using one of the photos from the photo shoot and one that I had kind of taken on my own. And I had a laugh because I can hear Oakley coming. I've kind of trained Oakley that every time I'm in the studio here, that he thinks it's a photo shoot and that he's gonna get treats, and he loves to model. So anyways, but I just wanted to share with you, that's a picture of Oakley and I. And hi Oakley, he's just walking in here now. This magazine will be out on the stands until June, at least here in Canada. So I think it comes out this Thursday, and it's called What Women Create. It has it's a different cover than this. It's like turquoise, and it's all about ceramic art on the front. And we are on page 157. So again, under Pet Tales, it's the story of Oakley, my little rescue dog, and how he kind of rescued me more than I rescued him. So I think it turned out really well. And just wanted to give a shout out to my very good friend, Vivi Spooner, who had co-wrote the article with me, just because I find writing very challenging. And yeah, so just wanted to share that exciting news. I'm super pleased that that will be coming out. This is, it's funny, for some reason I feel like my camera, it's at as high as it can go on my tripod here, but it's not having done a video for so long, probably 3 weeks or so, that I'm just out of practice. Just gonna move all of my artwork. But yeah, Where Women Create and What Women Create is a very beautiful magazine. In Canada, we can purchase it at a store called Indigo, which had taken over Chapters. And I just will do a quick flip through here. That's a beautiful art journal page, and it's so nice to see wildflowers and some greenery. And so I'll just do, again, just a short flip through. And these studio spaces are so beautiful. What I ended up doing this morning was I am part of this artist group, and in the group it was sort of how do you say, we had a Zoom session early this morning, and it was all about decluttering our space, and not just our studio, but just decluttering our home, you know, starting with a small space, a group of items, for example, maybe just you know, all of your art pencils or all of your felt pens. And I still haven't gone back to the full module for the class, but it was nice just to be on the Zoom session because I wanted to have my camera off so I could paint and listen to the session. But I knew, oh wow, that's a lot of books. I knew for accountability for myself that I had to show up in person on Zoom, turn on my camera, and actually do some sorting of, I was sorting one of my large art bookshelves, and I have so many awesome books. They're such beautiful books, and I just thought it's time to let them go. And I'm at the point where, you know, I've shared a lot of them on my channel. I really love the book, Steal Like an Artist. I think that was Austin Kleon. I'm not sure about the author's name. You know, The Creative Way. Some books that you've probably all heard of. Mind Mapping by Tony Buzan. That was one of my favorite kind of books to kind of teach myself creative thinking instead of like thinking in like a linear fashion as kind of how we learn in school. I won't get into all the books I donated, but I really just, you know, I don't need those books anymore. And I'm going to try and be more mindful about purchasing books versus, you know, going to the library first, seeing if I can find them. I think it would be so cool if we had like, you know, almost like for art supplies or like an art library, something specific for artists, because I don't know about you guys, but you know, I love to try different art supplies, and I really come to love certain ones. And then, you know, some of the ones that are maybe like half used, like say I buy a matte medium and, you know, I use half of it and then find one I like better. It's really hard sometimes to know when you're donating how to get it to the right place when it's really specific. But yeah, it's just about, where am I going? Oh, but I just thought it would be so cool to have, you know, those, I've seen those little mini outdoor libraries, those tiny little libraries in the neighborhood where people just put in books. And it would be so cool to have a space where people could drop off used art supplies that are still good. I feel like there's just so much waste, and I know for myself, I have so much in my studio that I don't use and I'm holding on to for emotional reasons, and I really need to just check in with myself and know that the process of letting go and moving things on, knowing that they will find a good home and someone else, you know, will be happy to get them or use them. And that's sort of my sidetracking for today. And I do have a lot of magazines as well. So that's something too. It would be fun to have an art group, at least locally, so, you know, we weren't having to ship things, but just to pass on magazines. I do have a couple neighbors that I love to pass along, you know, some extra art supplies and magazines, but I just think that we could do so much better. And so this, again, is Where Women Create magazine. Really, really beautiful, inspiring magazine. So I'm going to set that aside. It's just so great to be back on video. What have I been up to? I think I left off with acrylic inks and sharing some of my reticulated pattern. And well, I shouldn't call it mine, but you know, the reticulated technique that I love, and I love doing it with acrylic inks, but I also use other supplies. I also have been really into these little cradled wood panels. I just love them, and it's so nice to be able to mount, or, you know, also known as glue, some of, you know, artwork on a panel instead of framing it behind glass. So this is just one that I had finished. And this is definitely not my typical style. It was a little class I had taken, and I think it was called Imagined Landscapes, and it was by an artist through the Get Messy membership. And I was just doing a $5 trial of the membership, and so it would be a bit hard to reference, but I think it was called Imagined Landscapes, and it was a collage class, and this is sort of what came out of it. So I liked it enough, though. I really wanted to mount it and keep it on my wall. So that one I wanted to share. Oh, and I'll pull a card from my art poetry deck and just see what we get today. I have to tell you all, I've been doing stand-up videos instead of my usual sit-down videos, and ergonomically, I just feel like a new human. So for those of you that, sit a lot at your job, I really feel for you, because I know some people invest in stand-up desks and, try and get up and move around, but the way society is with our workplaces is so challenging. But I have found that I'm able to do stand-up videos, with it's not too hard transitioning depending on what I'm sharing and what I'm teaching, but I just feel really grateful to have kind of found that rhythm. So I'm just going to cut the deck. Did I tell you that I'm learning to play cribbage with my dad, and he's so good at it? I tried to learn about 15 years ago and found it complicated, lots of rules, and I don't know why it made me think of that, but he's an incredible woodworker, and he actually made a cribbage board, and I've had a lot of fun breaking cabin fever and playing cribbage with him. Not enough. I'd love to, do it more, but that's just been kind of fun. This painting is from a collection of girls I had done, and the collection was titled Matters of the Art. And this one says practice, reflection, and mirror confidence. And I really like how when I painted her, the background is so much like the ocean, and all these little elements of maybe like abstract coral reefs and sand dunes, and just the colors, the way the turquoise kind of changes into more of almost like a phthalo blue. Actually, I don't know if I'm saying that color right. Let me just see. What is this? Oh, kind of reminds me a bit of Prussian blue. I'm trying to learn more a bit about color theory. And this girl has that reticulated pattern that I've been sort of sharing on some of my more recent videos. And you can just see it. Again, this is a reproduction of an original, so it's a bit hard to see. But I really love the idea of practicing reflection and, kind of mirroring that confidence that, I'm trying to instill in my son, for instance. And I just see her as looking at her reflection in the water, and the way the light hits, or at least the way the light kind of hit my art, it almost looks like sun rays, rays of light kind of coming off her face. And art has certainly given me a lot of confidence. So that is the card of today. And I've had some requests for seeing what I've been up to, my recent work during cabin fever. So this is a larger work. I'm just gonna see if there's any way I can get most of it in the frame here. Just a moment. So I believe this is about 11 by 14 inches, matted to 16 by 20 inches when you include the mat. things always look so much better when you add the matte, that kind of viewfinder of, you know, the beautiful images that may be on your canvas or your paper or your panel. And I thought I would just share this one because it's almost done. I'm just gonna move these other ones for a second. So with the cold weather and being cooped up inside, I just had the need to express myself through paint. And instead of doing my more sort of, I guess you would call it, you know, the style that's more authentic to me as an artist, my art poetry paintings, which those of you that follow me, you kind of know I do a very loose, colorful, kind of uplifting, calming, sort of semi-abstract landscapes, almost illustrative, just with some of the mark making. And so there's an example. This is a really good example just because I call this like a garden in the sky. So it's that really loose watercolor background and mark making that I love. And actually this card makes me want to tell you I have an upcoming in-person class here in Calgary, Alberta, and I'm super excited. I think again, cabin fever prompted me to find a way to kind of find my people, other creatives in person, because I just need to be around humans. And I tend to be, you know, I'm a homebody. I love being at home. I love just, you know, painting in my spare time instead of, say, going out for, I tend to really just, I'm a bit obsessed with the process of creating and painting, that I would much rather, if someone invited me to a party or a dinner out, I would rather just paint. And that's just me. But I think with the cold weather and not getting fresh air and sunlight and being around other people so much, I just was craving getting out. So the reason seeing this work, it just reminds me, this is the work I'm using to advertise my class. So it's coming up on April 1st at Kensington Art Supply store here in Calgary. And if you want more information, I have posted it on my Instagram, and I can send you the link if you email me. So if you are interested in classes, I'm probably going to do this one and more classes. This one's on a Tuesday. But it would be nice to offer some weekends, as I know that's a big audience that I'm missing. So I just wanted to share that on my channel, that I am doing my first in-person class, first in, I don't know how many years, probably about eight or 9 years. And I'm so excited. And so, yeah, just if you subscribe to Kensington Art Supply's newsletter, that's another way to kind of stay in the loop. They have wonderful classes by a variety of different artists, and I'm not sure how many of my followers on here are from Calgary or even Canada. I think there's, it's probably like 90% USA, and maybe a small percent Canada, Australia, Netherlands. Where are you all tuning in from? So anyways, this is that loose watercolor background that's more traditional to my style. And actually this card is helping guide me with what I want to share right now. So do it for yourself. I was just craving loose, expressive mark making with acrylics. And even though this may seem like a new style for me, it's actually the style that I started with. So I don't know if I can call it a style. Basically abstract acrylic. It's somewhat mixed media. I have pencil marks, I have wax crayons. Sometimes I use gouache. I use acrylic inks as well as heavy body acrylics. A lot of mark making. Again, this isn't a finished piece, but there was a part of me that's like, you know, even though I started out painting like this, do I want to go back to painting like this when I know from a business standpoint, people want my art poetry paintings and they sell out really quickly. I'm so grateful for that. But I do find when you get into finding your style, I mean, it's just the best feeling in the world, but it can also, you can also get a bit stuck, and you know, I feel like I've gotten a bit tight with my art poetry style. I love doing the loose watercolor backgrounds. Funny, this one would say develop your authentic voice. I love doing the loose watercolor backgrounds, but I'm a bit tighter when it comes to pulling the piece together prior to, you know, for me, I sell my work, so prior to posting it. The process that I love is the loose color craving exercises, and then that part of, once that background is dry, coming back to it is not as much my favorite thing. I enjoy it, but I definitely am tired of that process right now. So I was trying to remind myself, why am I doing this? Why do I do anything? As creatives, we need to always do it for ourselves. And that can be a really hard thing, especially when, say, you are in the business of art, and maybe, you know, that's a huge part of your income. So I just decided, though, if I'm truly going to paint for myself, this is what is authentically coming out right now. This is something I absolutely loved. So over the last week, I have painted so many abstract pieces like this, and I do think maybe it's something I can share at some point. But if you're thinking, okay, let's just see, just gonna see if I can move this. Oh, and there's the other one underneath. So with the same color palette, I had painted this piece. And again, it's not my sort of signature art poetry watercolor style. And I don't know, maybe you guys can tell me if you do see it as being one of my styles, because I have some of my paintings that are in my art deck. Some of my acrylic paintings, not too many. Oh, I know what I'm gonna do. I can share with you, I have a whole bunch of prints of my work, which I don't know if I'll share that today. There's quite a few, but I can just grab them as an example. So just let me see. Oh, here they are. I'm a very, very prolific artist. This is work that I have reproduced into print, and I only started selling and doing prints of my work in, I think it was 2020 or 2021. So this just, I guess, gives you an idea of how I work. But this piece on top, Beauty and Friendship, this isn't the best print. It was a proof, so it's very light, but this is an example of my acrylic loose style, and it's very similar, I feel, in the way I painted it to this style. I'm kind of covering the whole page. So whereas my art poetry paintings, I leave a lot of blank space. So again, my acrylic painting, where this one I've just filled everything up. There's a lot of collage, and there's real botanicals actually in this painting. Carousel. This one was on wood panel, again, mostly acrylics, filling up the whole page. This is acrylics it was on canvas, but it's called Patchwork Skies, and it is quite similar to kind of my watercolor art poetry style in that I left a lot of that blank space. And this is when I was taking a class through Betty Krause. I love her work. I love her process. And I feel like it was Betty that really got me into how I break a blank page with the acrylic process. So I use Bristol paper. And this is, I think often Betty uses Bristol paper. That's where I learned about this being such a great surface for acrylic work on paper. I would not go back to painting any other way with acrylics other than on canvas or wood panel. but this would be my paper of choice. Whereas when I first started painting, I painted on Canson 140-pound watercolor paper with acrylics. So it's still nice, but this is, for me, it's just a dream. So it's by Strathmore. It's called Bristol paper. It has a smooth surface. This is 11 by 14. So this is those paintings that that are under my pile that I had just showed you. And it is just beautiful. So I can show you how I use that shortly here if I get to it. But Betty Krause uses so much mark making. When she breaks a blank page, she uses everything from like pencil to China markers to Neocolor Caran d'Ache 1s and 2s, those crayons, pencil crayon, so many different background elements that are underneath those layers that go on top. And her layers that go over are so beautiful. She calls them fields of flowers, and she uses a lot of shapes that kind of are like abstract, but you can understand how they could be referred to as fields of flowers. I'm gonna see if I have her book handy. That is not one of the books I donated today. Fields of Flowers. I don't think I have it in my studio space here. But I feel like I loved this class so much. I'm really happy with this piece, which I titled, I called it Saturdays with Betty. And then I had done a second one, which I loved, and I called it, I think, Sundays with Allie, because I used to go by Allie Mac, because my maiden name is McGregor. Anyways, that's like a whole nother conversation. But the process of just, her process was so enjoyable, yet I could not pull the painting together like she did. I really kind of found my own way through it. So I feel like this is heavily influenced by Betty, but still nowhere near kind of her style. So I took what I learned in her classes, and this is sort of where I have left off. This is another work in process, and I feel like the lighting is, might see if I can fix the lighting in here today. It's pretty dark. It helps a bit. But anyways, you really want to first, paint for yourself and do it for the process, because if you don't absolutely love the process, you're not going to want to do it. And I think, we're all striving for, it's like those Venn diagrams where it's like, what is it that you're good at and what is it that you absolutely love to do, and do those things kind of cross in the middle? And, is it something you could do long term? That's just sort of from the business standpoint. This, again, is mostly acrylics, but you can see my illustrative work that's kind of popped in here, my mark making. This one has a lot of embroidery, and that was finding Frida one stitch at a time, that series I had done. Here's another one from that series. You can see the embroidery in here. And again, an art poetry painting. I'm going to flip through these. I'm not going to flip through all of these today, but I feel like the ones I wanted to share with you were those top ones, which are more kind of what I would call my style in acrylics. So just like I have in a lot of my watercolor paintings, I have that moon. And in some of them I have the birds, but this mark making is in a number of my art poetry paintings. This was a really large acrylic painting on paper. So not flipping through all those today, I'm gonna just put my cards aside, create some space. And show you some of my works in progress in terms of the acrylic paintings. I've been trying to play around with landscapes. So you can see this is a landscape. It's not finished. I feel like I need some brights. I need to somehow maybe lighten up the sky, maybe lighten up this kind of abstract mountain. But I was using the same color palette that I was doing with this painting and this painting here. And what I'm teaching coming up here in April in person, I'm going to teach how to make an art journal, a really simple art journal from one big page of paper. And I'm going to be teaching my art poetry watercolor style, but in an art journal format. This was me cleaning off my brush, and I had just grabbed a 98-pound piece of 18 by 24 paper, and I made, I think what it's called a zine, Z-I-N-E, kind of an offshoot of the word magazine. I'm pretty sure that's what this style is called. I have to look it up, but this one is just such a fun one to do, especially if you have large works on paper and you just don't know how to pull them together. You can turn them into a journal from one page. So just really cool. But that's not what I'm going to teach today. I wanted to share with you the color palette that I kind of stumbled on for these paintings. So the color palette, it kind of came about because I had gone to the art store. Actually, it was Kensington Art Supply, and I saw this Amsterdam acrylic ink on sale. It was super cheap, and I don't know why it was on their sale table, but I was so excited because we've been doing acrylic inks. I love this color, and I thought, well, it would be great to try a new brand. So this is Amsterdam, number 315, and it's in Pyrrole Red. And so that is right here. And so I had got this one on the sale rack, and then I thought, well, I'd love to try, oh yeah, this one was not on sale, but I loved this dark green. And that is sort of where you can see that I fell in love with this green, and I'm using it in a lot of these works in progress on the bottom, kind of grounding the painting. And I think I was thinking about grass because of cabin fever. I was thinking about greenery. So I had purchased these two. This is called Olive Green Deep, which is right here. And then Luminous Rose is just a stunning color that I had purchased quite a long time ago. You can see it's well loved, and it's by Holbein, and it's an acrylic paint, and it's just stunning. So this is Luminous Rose, number 582 by Holbein Acrylic. So I just threw that one in there because I hadn't used any brights, and I was just craving like a really pretty bright. And then mixing these two, which I had written up here, gave me the most beautiful neutral. So I discovered that through playing just with these. And then I wanted to try Amsterdam. Where am I? I needed a new pink because I was all out of my favorite pink by Holbein. And I thought, well, I'll try this new Amsterdam acrylic in a tube. This is Venetian Rose. It was $10.50 Canadian, and there it is there, that little sample on my swatch. So I incorporated that one. And then I had purchased these two. Where are they? This is, I think these ones not on sale, $13.15 Canadian. So it just gives you an idea of what I would pay here in Canada. Green gray and blue gray of the Liquitex Basics, and I was just feeling like those would be really great neutrals, and they are beautiful. So I had pulled those into my palette. And then I've always loved Titan Green Pale by Golden. I'm almost out of it. I had to fill this with water. And so that's that really light green, and I put it in a couple places. So that's just a nice neutral. And I was mixing my Pyrrole Red with my, bright orange. I know, I had a cheap paint or I should say affordable, not cheap, Americana Deco Art Bright Orange. I thought, well, I'm just craving orange and I'm gonna just mix these two. Sometimes what I like to do is mix a higher quality paint with one that's a little bit lower quality, because the higher quality one is highly pigmented. And, you know, another trick I have is, you know, as artists, a lot of us tend to go through a lot of white, especially when we're painting with acrylics. So I would buy a higher quality white and say a cheaper, more affordable paint like this one, you know, a craft paint, and mix them to get a new color. And it really helps on the budget. So that would be an example of the bright orange mixed with white. And then I had mixed the bright orange with this ink. And I apologize for those of you that aren't interested in this watching video, but I thought it would give you a really good kind of an insight into, I paint really quickly, and just my process of how I paint in quantity and how I discover new palettes. I often just kind of randomly pick paints, but this process of discovery was because I am kind of trying to practice what I preach. I'm going to be teaching an art journal class on my style, and I thought, well, what better way to take in one that's already done, that I've done recently. And I love the idea of, you know, I had bought a couple of new paints and I wanted to test them out. So what better way to do it than in this journal? And now I have a whole bunch of works in progress that have come from this palette. And years down the road, you know, I'm not going to remember how I achieved certain palettes, and maybe I want to replicate them. It's all in this journal. So it's kind of a neat way just to kind of look back. The other thing I want to do is teach mark making over top of these swatches. So, you know, for instance, if you love little stars, you could, you know, get a white paint pen and add little stars to this color. And that might be something that you're exploring to eventually add to a later painting. So I just can't speak highly enough about art journaling. And just gonna move these paints. My desk is very busy. The one paint I didn't have, this is another really affordable brand, Deep Yellow, right here. So I did include that at some point. So that's the palette that I've been working with, and I'm just gonna share with you. I mean, you can just see this palette and how it's really pulled in these works in progress. So I'll show you some other ones. I'm gonna move this mat because we all know that a mat is precious and you don't wanna get anything on it. And oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been on here this long. I've just missed you guys. This again, okay, this palette, I'm just gonna, I think I added Violet Oxide. So that was a new one that I had added to this palette, but these are just works in progress. I'm gonna show you, flipping through fairly quick on Bristol paper. So you'll see lots of bright areas, lots of painterly marks, hopefully not too much white showing through. I have recently, so my husband, so we've been married 10 years, and he'd given me, oh sorry, that was, okay, January. For Valentine's Day, he gave me a lovely bouquet, and the flowers were just about ready to be tossed. They were these really beautiful, small, kind of like, I don't know what kind they were, like a type of daisy, but they were like a burgundy color. Anyways, I wanted to stamp with them, and so I got out my jelly plate, and I don't really think the jelly plate helped a lot, but I was basically stamping flowers into my paintings. And so I'm going to show you a few places where I had done that, and it worked out really well, and I feel like it just added a different element for me to work with. So you can see this one's really neat. and this one as well. So stamping botanicals. And these are not finished paintings. This is an old painting, but I just decided to throw on some blue, and I'm gonna have to finish that painting. Speaking of stamping though, I do wanna show you how I am stamping these days. Okay, this is not Bristol paper. This is a really long, I've kind of gone off track here, but I wanted to show you, yeah, okay, that's pretty much, those are pretty much the works I've done within the last week or two, where I'm just painting a whole bunch and getting my energy out, loving the process of painting with acrylics really loosely, using the Bristol paper as like a playground of sorts to just figure out how can I kind of find my own style, similar to Betty Krause, where it's like this gorgeous, colorful, abstract acrylic, but it has meaning and it feels like me. And so I'm still trying to find that and slowly learning how to pull these together. The first two paintings I showed you, I'm very pleased with. I feel like these ones really do reflect me as an artist. They're so close to being done. I'm just going to use some small mark making, but I really, really love these. You can see down here, there's some very interesting marks, and I'm going to see where else did I have that. I'm excited to share with you. Let's see. I'll just grab a random piece of paper. This is watercolor paper. Actually, I'm going to use white paper, just a moment. I'm going to grab some Bristol paper. So, again, Strathmore, Bristol, 11 by 14. This is 20 sheets, and it's 100 pounds. And I'm just going to turn it this way for fun. And I want to show you what I have discovered. So you know how I was making my own stamps, whoops, out of, you know, eraser, or this is, I think it's called, they're called lino cut stamps. I'm not sure if I have the name right. This is one that I had done that turned out really cute. It reminds me of apples or cats or just a really cute mark. And it doesn't bother me that I have that line from the stamp I made. I just feel like it's familiar now to me. It's mine, it's authentic, and I really love it. So that would be a stamp I'd want to incorporate into my art journal somehow. And this was so easy to make. I'm not going to share with you today. There's so many great YouTube videos on how to make your own stamps, but I wanted to figure out a way to stamp with my reticulated pattern. So I'm going to show you. This is so funny. So this was like a $2 stamp in the bargain bin at Michael's. It's very cute, but I wanted to use it. I'm going to use this block to make my own stamp. And so what I did is I had peeled off their stamp, and I think I had glued it on, I don't know. What did I do? I think I'd used a glue. Obviously it didn't work, but I was trying to make my own sort of stamp pad. And just as an example, I used a piece of foam core, which I use for sometimes behind artwork to flatten it. I use it sometimes to ship it, to keep it flat, to protect it. A very lightweight, it's called foam core. You can get it at the Dollarama here in Calgary, a huge sheet for like $1 something. And so I cut this small piece. Here's another one. And these are falling apart, but I'm just excited to share the stamps that I have made with my reticulated pattern. So this was a whole bunch of foam core stuck together, and I was a little bit lazy. I was just so excited about creating them that I didn't take the time to look up how to make proper stamps. Like with, I know you can use foam core, that I know, but I'm just gonna grab a couple as examples. So I use double-sided tape, and I had kind of built up this block, which I'm sure you can just, you know, buy at the store. And I'm gonna share with you what it looks like first. So I have my stamp pad, my archival ink, which I've had for a really long time. And you want to leave room for your fingers. I have short thumbs, so you want to leave some space. And you can see the foam core is kind of holding it up. And that didn't come out as dark as I'd like, but this is a stamp that I made. I really like that leaf design. So this would be one example. This would be another example. I did not plan on showing you this today. This is quite funny. It's like that warm weather, right? So there's another design. And I have been using this stamping technique in my art poetry watercolor paintings, as well as my acrylic paintings. So I'm just going to show you. Again, this one here, it's very hard to see. I wanted it to be super subtle. That mark making was created with this stamp. And fortunately, it came out really nice on here. I'm very pleased with it. But you're wondering, okay, well, how did I get this? How did I make it? And look at this little one. I just love this little one. So what I did, I'm just gonna put some double-sided tape on this tiny little one because the one that was on there isn't really working. And where's my foam core for that one? So my mom's name, Joan McGregor, JM, she used to be a teacher. She taught grade 3 for a really long time. Well, I shouldn't say a really long time. She would say before she had kids, and she was a stay-at-home parent, but before she had kids, she was teaching. And this stamp is so cute because it's my mom's from when she was teaching. They probably wouldn't be able to use this one nowadays because it says "You were not listening." It has a little clown with him plugging his ears. So anyway, this one's not going into the donation bin, but this is just so great for me to put my little stamp, my homemade stamp on top, just for when I want to use it, and then I can take it off. So you can see this cute little reticulated pattern, and I really love this one. It's very delicate. And so this is one, if, you know, I'm mailing a parcel now, I might just use this on an envelope because this is totally authentically my own stamp. And to tell you how I did it, it was so easy. I mean, it took a bit of patience. What I would do is take an old tube of acrylic paint. So this one's not super old. This is, let's just see. Seeing if I can find one that's maybe kind of drying out. to get just another piece of paper to do a little demo. So you want to get some thicker paint that's maybe almost dried out because you need a decent consistency. And I'm going to get more Bristol paper. Just trying to see if I have. I'll just use this one I've made a little bit of a mess of. I had paint that was it wouldn't come out the top, and so I had to cut the end, and I got so much out before I was able to roll it up again, and so I didn't want to waste it. So this is the background of a new painting, and what I'm gonna do is get out some of this paint. You know what I might do? I might just oh, I don't really want to tear it. I hate wasting things. Where's my art journal? Okay, that's okay. I'm just gonna sacrifice this painting. I'm gonna do this one. So I'm gonna fold this Bristol paper. I can still use it and just make a smaller painting. What I'm going to do is just squeeze out some paint. And see how easy this is just smushing it between the two sides of this Bristol paper that has kind of a smooth surface and pulling it apart. You get this beautiful mirrored image of, I mean, this texture is just gorgeous. It looks like a seashell. So I'll just see if you can see that. And then all you have to do is cut it out, preferably very much, you know, where the white page meets the pink paint. And this is how, when it's cut out, this is how I achieved my stamp. I let it dry. I needed enough of an elevated part of the reticulation to be able to stamp it on the stamp pad. So I'm still kind of playing around with different styles, different ways of doing it. But it's a great way if you feel like, you know, you have some paint that's drying up. I'll just see if this orange one's also drying up. That when it dries, it's a beautiful surface to make your own reticulated stamp. So here's some orange. And whoops, oh, that's so funny. We'll just see what we get here. And I really should have my window open right now, get some fresh air. I often don't paint with acrylics when it's so cold in the winter. I recently did a blog where I paint for like a reason, season, or a lifetime. You know how that saying about relationships, they're either for a reason, season, or a lifetime. And that's sort of how I create. And my recent blog was all about that. And normally I paint with acrylics in the summer because I don't like the fumes. I like to be outside. I like to be free. But cabin fever really got me this year. And where am I going with this? Yeah, but I'm going to open the window soon. And just check out this gorgeous pattern. And when this dries, you want to do a bunch of these. So it took me a long time to figure out which cutouts worked well. And you know, you'll just kind of learn to find your own way of making them. But it's just a new discovery that I had, and I love incorporating it into my work. So, you know, there's great videos on how to mount your own stamp. Again, foam core, just pieced together, whoops, taking apart, you know, an old stamp that you might not use, or, you know, you could even, this is still a stamp I can go back and glue back on, but just in the meantime, I wanted to put my own stamp on here and make a stamp pad. So I don't think I need to do any more demos, but to get, you know, more of a leaf shape, you just want to have a bit more of an elongated, I'm going to go back to that pink actually. You just want to make a slightly longer acrylic mark, like that. And you can make your own designs. And so again, slightly dried paint is better. And you don't want to flatten it so much. See, that one is awesome because it is a bit more elevated. And so if you like this dendritic or reticulated pattern, what a really fun way of making your own stamp very affordably. And I like the idea of using up old paint. So I did want to tell you, I had a funny discovery because when I had carved my name, A. Dorrant, in this little stamp pad, let's just grab some, this is like a deli paper where I was just cleaning my brush yesterday. You can see some of the botanicals, but I wanted to share with you, you know, this was kind of a happy accident. I made the stamp backwards because I wanted to have my sort of my signature or like my name in the stamp. So I was so excited. I carved it. I worked so hard, but of course it's the mirror image. However, I loved the fact that when I stamp it down, when I recently was packing up art to ship somewhere, I loved how I used tissue paper to protect the art before putting it in the crystal clear bag. And of course, tissue paper is see-through. So there it is in the proper way versus when I made it, I was disappointed because it came out backwards. So I just wanted to share that kind of funny find with you all. And I suppose, where are we? I wanted to do some painting, but I might save that for another day. I think I'm going to get Oakley outside for a second walk since it's been so long. And I just, I'm going to grab my art poetry deck. I'm not sure of the time because I have a message that's covering it. So and this is called Don't Get Stuck in the Details. And I often need this reminder. I have a card that's like, pay attention to the details, because sometimes I feel like that's what I need to hear. But then I also have this card which is don't get stuck in the details. So I was thinking of my friend who was telling me he wanted to start doing YouTube videos, and anyways, we were just talking about how you just have to do it. You just have to start somewhere, because if you get stuck with like trying to have the perfect lighting or the perfect backdrop or the perfect like voice, you know, where it's just about getting started and not getting stuck. And I think that's, you know, I never thought I'd be doing YouTube videos with you all, and it was all just that one video which I had done, which was really not a good video. I used the word like every I used it like every sentence, and though I think back, and because I just posted it anyway, I didn't care. Here I am today, really loving what I do and sharing it with you all, and I've met so many beautiful people on here, And so thank you for watching my videos, and I hope to be back on soon, maybe doing some really great acrylic backgrounds with that color palette I was sharing, because it's so fun. And I also want to do more acrylic inks with you all, because there's so many amazing ways you can use acrylic inks. I kind of just want to share, one right now. So if you have that Bristol paper, where are we? Going back to, where did my Bristol paper go? I'll just use the back of this one. Grab a couple inks, and I'm gonna use, let's just see actually. I'm gonna use my new Amsterdam. I'm gonna use my Pyrrole Red, my Olive Green Deep, and I'm gonna just toss in this Daler Rowney Fluorescent Red. So these are permanent, so they're not watercolor, they're permanent acrylic inks. And I'm gonna grab kind of like an old credit card, like a hotel card. This one is well loved. This is from a tag of something. And let's just create a background. So get some color down. You can maybe achieve that same beautiful neutral by mixing those two colors together to get this. So we'll watch for that. What I'm going to do is just really basically swipe. Just put that in whatever I feel like. I'm going to take the edge of my card and just swipe. I'm going to kind of pull it down. You can see that it's wet here. And then I'll just bring back, maybe just turn the card over and just make a different design. It's kind of like watercolor. The less you move it around, the better. You just kind of want to see what you get. I love that pink, that transparency. And so again, this is Bristol paper. This is acrylic inks. And this is breaking a blank page. So this is often, I tend to use acrylic inks underneath my paintings on Bristol paper. So this area that's so bright here and this area, we're done with those inks. So just a jumping off point. And then if you've been following my videos, you'll know that I am going to, where is my, I was gonna grab another sheet. We'll just use this one. And no, I'm not gonna use that one because I'm gonna make a mess. I'm gonna just grab this one, and I'm just gonna put this sheet right over and pick up some of that reticulated pattern. Pull it off. And there you can see a tiny bit of that reticulated pattern kind of coming through in this area. And this would be a really neat way to start a landscape. And of course, this is a good example to show you how to achieve that reticulated or dendritic pattern that we get here with very thin paint versus very thick paint, like what we want for our stamps. So once these dry, I'm gonna just cut them out and make sure they're really dry or just a bit tacky. And then I'm gonna put them down on my stamp pad to see if I can get equal pressure to create that beautiful design. And I am gonna end there for now, but just wanted to share how easy it is to break a blank page and to start a background. And I think that's how I started this landscape as well. Again, this is not finished, but I was just playing with those acrylic inks, and I love the pops of brights. Okay, I gotta run. We'll chat soon.